What's up, everyone? Gonna go a little bit a different direction to usual today because I've noticed something common that I think is affecting a lot of guys in the community and affecting your ability to engage in really helpful self-development. And it's a simple, fixable one, which is you don't manage your budget very well. It's one of the most common, what would you call it, barriers or excuses I see people make as to why they're not engaging in self-development more, as they say, I can't afford it, essentially. So today, I want to tell you how you can instantly get a pay rise. It's really straightforward. It's almost patronizing, and yet so few people do this that it blows my mind. The first time I did this, it blew my mind. And you can do this anytime you want. So if you want a pay rise and you don't want to have to talk to your boss about it, here's what you do, okay? Actually, before I go into that, tease it out, what I'm planning is that, right now Mike is running the No Nut November 30-day challenge, and we're quite interested in doing 30-day challenges more often. So what I was thinking is I'd make the next 30-day challenge about becoming financially free. So to become financially free in 30 days, I don't mean rich and wealthy in 30 days, but financial freedom, to understand what that means and be set up for it in 30 days. If you guys would be keen for me to do that, if that's worth me doing, if that's a topic you're interested in, let me know, and I'll set that up as one of the next 30-day challenges. Cool? So anyway, part of that is how to get an instant pay rise. So here's what you do. You go into your internet banking, or whatever banking you've got, and you get the last 3 month statements. Okay, so you get your statements from the bank for the last 3 months. And you're going to go through this line by line with a highlighter. Print them out, use a highlighter. And what you're going to do is you're going to highlight everything that you spent money on that you don't need for your survival. Okay? So anything that you could live without. So you can leave in things like rent, power, groceries, petrol, if that's what gets you to your job and gets your kids to school, that kind of thing. But anything beyond that, food that you bought from somewhere other than the grocery store, clothing that wasn't needed for survival, like, optional clothing, whether you paid for music or Netflix, all your subscriptions, electronics, phones, cars, or accessories to cars that you don't need, so on. Anything that comes under the category of I could have lived without this, just highlight all of it. And then also go back over and put like a mark or highlight necessities that you think you might be paying too much for. For example, if you're on a electricity plan that's probably more than you need to pay, or you're on a phone plan, you really don't need to be using that much if you really wanted money more than, the data sort of thing, whatever. Like, look through those sort of necessary expenses and also tick off the ones where you're like, I'm probably not getting the best deal I could be. Even things like rent, okay? So go through and mark it all off and be really honest with yourself. If you went out to buy a Subway sandwich, that's an unnecessary purchase. You could have made a sandwich at home for about a third the price, right? So you got to mark everything. You bought a latte at Starbucks, you could have made coffee at home and kept it in a cup and taken it with you to work, right? You didn't need to buy that. Just highlight all of them. And what you'll notice is there's kind of two types of expenses going on in these highlighted ones. There's what you might call recurring ones. You kind of frequently or weekly kind of do the same expenses. Like maybe you buy a coffee every morning, or maybe you always buy an extra chocolate bar when you fill up with gas, and you got like a habit of doing that. Netflix or subscriptions, anything that's like recurring. And then you've got one-off expenses. Sometimes these seem to be necessary, like car repairs, but sometimes they're not. Like you bought yourself a nice new t-shirt, or you went to the movies or whatever. You got all these extras, and just mark them all off. And what you want to do is you want to calculate the sort of average of the recurring ones. So if over 3 months' time, what's the average amount spent on these recurring kind of unnecessaries? And you figure that out. And then you look at the one-offs, and you make an estimate about how often these kind of expenses happen. Like, how often do you buy yourself a nice new pair of jeans or a new pair of shoes, or how often do you go to the movies on average? And so you can figure out a kind of a yearly budget for the one-offs. And you can get that down to averages of per week or per month, whatever you want to do, however you want to look at it. But essentially what you do is you'll get an average of expenditure per week, per month, per year of unnecessaries. And right there, you are looking at your instant pay rise. Okay? And you'll be amazed, if you're really honest with yourself when you do this exercise, you'll be amazed at how high that number is. Okay? There are very few people who are actually living like in their means. There are very few people who are living at rock bottom, even though they feel like they are. There are a lot of people who say they're broke and they're spending more than they earn, but they buy a lot of unnecessary stuff. So essentially you got this pay rise. Now that doesn't mean that you can't do that anymore if you want the pay rise. You can't buy any of those things. What it means is every time you buy one of those things, you're taking it out of your pay rise. And that's a decision you now need to make. How much of that pay rise do you want to retain? I'll give you an example of this from my own life. When I did this exercise, what I figured out is I spent almost something like $80 a week just on food beyond what I needed to buy, like beyond groceries. Actually, it was more like $100 a week when I added coffees in and stuff like that. It was $100 a week. Now that is a pay rise of over $5,000 per annum. Now, if you went into work tomorrow and your boss said, I'm going to give you a $5,000 pay rise, you'd be fucking over the moon, right? And yet there's a $5,000 pay rise maybe sitting right there just by making your own lunch, just by making your own coffee and taking it in a thermos or whatever. So a lot of people, we're going to talk about this when I do the 30-day challenge if we go through with that. A lot of people think that fixing their financial situation is about increasing their income. And they don't understand that spending less is increasing your income. You don't need a pay rise or a better job to increase your income. You need to spend less on stuff you don't need. And you'll find that once you adjust to it, you won't miss it. Now you look at that list of all those extras and you decide which ones you absolutely must keep. You're willing to sacrifice your pay rise to keep those things. And then ditch the rest. Or wean yourself off them. Or reduce the frequency. But first and foremost, be honest with yourself about them. Look at your budget. A lot of people just don't do this. They just don't look at their bank statements. They don't face the truth about their spending. They don't calculate the averages per week and all those horrible numbers they don't want to know about. But if you can do that, you'll finally start the journey to being on top of your finances. First, you face the truth. You're not broke. You're overspending. That's true in like 99% of cases. And you can control that. You can reduce those expenditures. Your kids might cry a little bit about it at first. Your partner might complain a little bit at first, but you can give yourself a pay rise today. And what we'll talk about in the 30-day program, if we go through with that, is what to do with that pay rise so that it becomes even more money without you having to do more work. So anyway, that's my thoughts for today. It's something I did a couple of years ago and absolutely transformed my finances. And these days, like if you look at my budgeting, I'm down to the bare minimum, really. It doesn't mean I don't go out and have fun, but I really don't spend on shit I don't need much at all anymore. Okay, I give myself a little bit of play money, and the rest of the time, I'm just living within my means and creating a good financial future for myself. And you can do the same too. It's all in your power. Comment below, let me know if you want me to go ahead with that 30-day challenge to become financially free. If that's something you'd be interested in doing, it'll all be part of the membership for Brojo. And yeah, let me know if it's worth doing. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.